to come and go. We will keep on with Rose Agozzino from Ludia studio. In 10 years in this studio, she went to occupy a position in marketing now, and that's about what that's the thing she will talk about. Marketing under the influence. I don't think drugs would be in the presentation.
Not today.
It's not that kind. It's more of a like influencer friendly approach, I think.
Yes. So un gros merci pour l'introduction. So as mentioned, I'll be here to talk and guide you through some of the overall best practices for marketing efforts, specifically on mobile. So before we begin, I would like to see just a show of hands for those of you in the room who have launched a game or a product before. Okay, so like half. Okay, good amount. And how many of them are for mobile versus console or Steam? Okay, so the good thing is that this talk is going to be able to apply, while it is mainly for mobile, the principles are going to apply for the rest of the marketing as well. So I know that marketing is a very hot topic, it's very sexy. This is supposed to be the fun part of it, but there's a lot that can go wrong, especially when you come into social media, influencers, and an active community, like a lot. So I'm here to share you a summary of all the marketing steps you should be taking, when and where and why. So let's begin. How many P's does it take to launch and market a new game or product, and how, be it mobile, console, or other? Once they're identified, how do you make sure that each is weighted and actively researched, measured, and engaged with? When should marketing get involved, and what are these responsibilities to you and the product? So I'm just going to let you sit with that for a minute. I'm sure you're going to have questions, but a little bit about me first. So here's the background on myself. As mentioned, I've been at Ludia now for close to 10 years. I started back in 2013, kind of accidentally as I came in as a coordinator position on production. Over time, I was looking for something light and easy, and then my responsibilities and tasks grew where I was picking up on items that we were missing and missing opportunities of revenue. So as the time passed, I've worked on multiple different products and game launches, including 3 Jurassic titles, 2 for How to Train Your Dragon, Family Feud, The Price is Right, and much more. My role then evolved into a product marketing manager role. So I'm the senior product marketing manager for our Jurassic franchise, and my focus is primarily on our 2018 title for Jurassic World Alive. So that is actually the model from the movie. We were on set for a trailer that we filmed earlier this year. So if we go back to our question, to ensure that you have the best chance of a successful product launch and rollout, you'll want to get marketing involved right from the get-go. Do you have an idea that is going to be the best game that you've ever thought about and is going to revolutionize everything? You should probably check with the marketing team, because we're going to tell you if that idea already exists, if the audience is there for it, and if we should go for it. It's easy to get caught up in the what-ifs of product development, but you need to see the forest through the trees. For your best chance to be successful, developers, product owners, and marketing should all be aligned every step of the way, from pre-production to post-launch. After all, post-launch is when the most fun is about to begin. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what the P was in the last 2 slides, but in this case, it stands for pillars. So the 4 key pillars are identified as product, price, place, and promotion. And without these identified internally and externally, everyone's going to have a very hard time understanding the value of what you're selling. As the years pass and advertising and marketing have evolved with better practices, slicker campaigns, and more, the 4 pillars have expanded to 5 before growing to 7 to account for the shift into digital. So these additional 3 pillars are physical environment, process, and most importantly, people. If you'll look online, you'll see plenty of charts that introduce the 5th pillar in various ways. But the most important takeaway should be that the people are at the center of it all, both internally, the people you work with, and externally, your customers and future advocates. So make sure to involve the right people at the right time, early, to ensure a better chance of success. If your internal people can't find the right external people, so if your product market isn't a fit, any social advertising and influencer efforts will fail flat. You can't successfully sell what people don't want. So what could the marketing structure look like? So when I first started at Ludia, the marketing team was tiny. We were 4 people. We had a few social managers and I worked directly with the production team because, again, I did not come in as marketing. So I worked with the production teams and the VP of marketing to ensure in-game marketing mails and the notifications were timed with sales and events, which you would think would happen beforehand, but that wasn't something that was thought about. That timing was off. That also gave us the flexibility to pitch to stores like the App Store and the Google Play Store and to manage our licensor relationships. Within a larger structure, you may see an expanded team and a structure with different specializations, all working together to ensure the best chance of being successful. Different teams are also going to be involved at different times and processes of the roadmap. Obviously, we'll want to involve our insights teams and market research much earlier in the project than the community and social teams. For smaller studios or startups, the marketing team will likely be lean, and that's actually probably for the best, because it'll give you a chance to expand your role and your tasks and learn about what you need to do. Through it all, the marketing lead is going to remain central and is a main point of contact for interacting with the product team for feedback, understanding of the production roadmap, timelines, and more. This is really important since marketing is going to need to relay what you have planned to all the parties to make sure that we can have things happen on time and in line. The structure is also what allows us to be able to get direct feedback from our current players, which is important, but just as important is our non-players. And we want to be able to reach our potential users through social, our support, and obviously the marketing research team. Why is research so important? Historically, the game industry, and especially mobile and free-to-play, is very much move fast to fail, with companies churning out new titles quickly. As the industry has matured, the kind of pace is no longer possible. The cost of development has increased, production times have gone up, and consumers have much higher expectations of the games they want to play. So it's very important that from the very beginning, the product is making sure that their vision is aligned with the target audience. I've seen, and especially in smaller teams or studios, developers that run off with a great idea, but they fail to do the required research. And so when they're ready to launch, there's no market, there's no audience. So whether through internal teams or through third-party companies, take the time and walk through all the necessities before diving into the project. Now, you might be thinking, you have Jurassic World, you have big IPs and licenses. Why do you need this? So, yeah, I mean, Jurassic's kind of big. I'm sure most of you have seen at least one of the movies, if not all 6. So it's a really, really big brand, but that big brand doesn't help us when this is our market. So Jurassic Park Builder was launched in 2012. In 2012, the amount of games that were available on the App Store, both for free or paid, was just under 120,000. By the time we launched in 2015, that number jumped to over 400,000. In that time in 2012, because there was a lack of competition, we were able to get a lot of free publicity and support from the app stores because of the quality of the product that we had put out and the brand. But come 2015, when we launched Jurassic World the game in time for the Jurassic World reboot, it was a much different story. We were still lucky to have really great editorial support from the platforms, and we were able to leverage the halo effect of the movie to help propel the game to high visibility and drive installs. However, when we launched Jurassic World Alive in 2018, the ecosystem had changed again. Now we were competing against 800,000 apps, and Pokemon Go had launched. So even though we had the Fallen Kingdom window, which was the second one in the series, the App Store now had was much harder to break through, and we noticed how much we were missing out by not being able to hit the top 10. Since 2021, so late last year, that number has now remained consistently over 1 million apps just on the App Store. So this is not even including Google, and this is just games. In 2015, we only spent a small amount on paid user acquisition to acquire players once the launch window had passed to help maintain visibility. But with our 2018 launch, we had to acquire paid users on day one and set aside a considerable amount of budget for user acquisition. Now, with the industry moving away from tracking, thanks to Apple's IDFAs, GDPR, and Google's incoming tracking deprecation, user acquisition is going to be even more expensive for possibly lower quality. So gone are the days of the easy discoverability of the App Store. Game teams now have to buckle down and make every dollar count to ensure that the most visibility possible. So now that we're past the doom and gloom, let's get back to how we took it over for this year. So Jurassic World Dominion was a theatrical release that was supposed to have been released in 2021, but due to the pandemic was then pushed out to June 2022. With the date in mind, and now we had a fixed date, the team got to planning how we were going to maximize the organic reach of the theatrical release to increase game downloads. In the industry, one of the terms that we use a lot is K-factor. And K-factor is a metric used by app developers to indicate an app's virality. So a K-factor would be for every paid user that I acquire, I get 2 free ones. Obviously, the more visibility we have, the higher the K-factor goes up. So with the increase in competition, a decrease in store visibility, and a loss of tracked user data, so this is all spelling gloom, we knew we had to be really agile and we had to work on a new approach to get our new users into the game without busting our budget. So one of our big strengths at Ludia has been our social presence. And over the years, we've been able to build up a very bold and robust social following across all our channels. With over 10 million fans and nearly 450,000 active newsletter subscribers, the team has worked hard in growing our opportunities to reach our players wherever they are. We have also taken the time to develop technology that allows us to use last-click engagement and behavior data points. So we call these deep links, and these are added to social posts, newsletters, and everywhere we may post. And it gives us a North Star metric so that we can track purchase revenue and engagement data anonymously. So this allows us to quantify and qualify what our social efforts are doing by seeing how many players are engaging with these links and bringing them back into the game and their spending behavior afterwards. Newer to our Ludia pipeline, but just as equally important, is our organic brand ambassadors and influencers. By working with an influencer specialist, we've been able to identify highly engaged players creating game-based content and reach out directly to them in order to build a long-lasting relationship. So as the content creator industry ramps up, thanks to growing and addictive networks like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram's Reels, it's important to understand how creators will play into your everyday strategy and should be also included from the get-go. For Jurassic World Alive, we often provide early access details for new updates or events happening, and we also provide them deep links so we're able to track the engagement of their user base too. Depending on your bandwidth, you may want to hire someone to work in-house specifically, or you might want to reach out to a third-party agency. I will say Streamforge, I believe, is here, Xavier, so if you have any interest in influencer talk, you can also go see him. So if you're working with a licensor or an IP, a branded IP, you may need to review all the content before it's posted, and it will require an open dialogue with the creators as well. This can sometimes be a sticking point, but it's worth it to go through. You may also need to get your legal team involved so that you don't have any troubles down the road. Overall, this may be a heavier lift, but this one-on-one engagement helps to build strong relationships, and we're also getting genuine engagement and authenticity. The ambassadors are seen as pillars of the player community, and by working with them directly, we're also able to get direct feedback quickly. This transparency also creates goodwill between the game and the players, strengthening the community and overall player engagement. Another activation we ran was a points and entry-based sweepstakes to celebrate the 4th anniversary of the game and the release of the movie on the platform Gleam. So working closely with our licensor, the text didn't show up. All right. Working closely with our licensor, we were able to send one lucky winner to a fully paid trip to Universal Studios of their choice, as well as additional rewards for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Through the sweepstakes, we were able to generate over 30,000 unique entries, 2 million social impressions, and an additional 24,000 newsletter signups. But most importantly, we created a ton of positive brand and player sentiment with users sharing their favorite AR dinos across different social networks. Not all sweepstakes need to be a major prize, but if the budget is tight, reach out to companies to solicit prizes. Another option is exclusive in-game rewards that you can create just for the sweepstakes, which may actually be more valuable to your players since it provides in-game engagement to something they are going to want and high player satisfaction. For every major release, the team has gone out of the way to create exciting and compelling trailers that were both as standalone brand pieces, which can then be used for social and for user acquisition. So this is actually the trailer from that earlier photo. Once a year, we set aside a big budget for a live action trailer, and while the rest of our teasers are mostly CG. Live action works well because Jurassic World Alive is a geolocation AR game, so that mix of CG and live is representative of what the game is. This may not be true for you, so do what is true to your brand and to your product. We always align the big beats with major key beats in the annual roadmap, as this allows us to reduce the cost of paid installs and letting that budget go further with high quality assets to run. So ahead of any major launches or updates, see how you can work your creative teams, or if you are the creative team, to create something unique that speaks to your players. Ahead of the movie release, the creative team also buckled down to make sure that our storefront page was as optimized as possible to convert the high amounts of traffic that we anticipated. By tapping into the global moment and extending our branding. Previously, you can see a lot more blue. It was winter. So we wanted to lean into the gold and yellow branding from the Dominion movie. We were actually able to increase our store conversion by 30%. So it's 30% more people tapping and downloading our game because we changed the pictures. So these tweaks allowed us to connect and convert a larger part of the audience, and which also allowed us to stretch our paid budget further, since improving conversion rates means cheaper installs overall. Finally, our last big effort was for store support. Over the last decade, we've had the opportunity to work with both Apple and Google teams to amplify all our releases. So Jurassic World, the game, is actually an editor's choice on both Google and Apple. By cultivating our relationships, we're able to alert the stores to what we had planned early, and we were able to encourage and pitch for their support. Additionally, both platforms have released new tools. On Apple, they're called in-app events, and on Google, they are the Google Live Ops cards. These are publisher-driven events that you would upload into the dashboards, add images, add copy, add deep links, and if selected, would then get promoted further onto the app stores. So kind of breaking through that clutter of over 1 million apps. Getting the prime real estate on a high traffic page, like Apple's Today or the main Games tab, allows us to increase the conversion optimizations we had done, and also led to great growth for our installs. So we did this for June 2022, so it was earlier this year, when we launched our major update with a theatrical release of Jurassic World. So with the 360 plan, did we succeed? So at the end of the chart, you're gonna see where our spike is. And the spike is the predicted revenue and growth of our audience from when those all went live. This is a 1-year look. So working together, making sure we had all these pieces in place ahead of time, doing the work 6 to 8 months in advance to get to this point is super important. Oftentimes, marketing is only brought in at the last minute, which does not give us ample time to be able to deliver this kind of success. So our 1-year growth, our projected 1-year growth around the featuring went through the roof. So this multifaceted approach allows us to be low on cost, which we love that, and improve the projected revenue, making every dollar stretch. So make sure to collaborate with us ahead of time and we can deliver it for you. We're also seeing a continued growth of our social and influencer marketing efforts. So as the creator economy matures, we are projecting a 4x growth by 2025. And as we double down on growing this arm of marketing, there is a lot to be said for influencer and social. I know often the joke is that it's an intern running it. Interns would probably cry trying to run this. This is a very hard thing to manage. So make sure you have your best people in this position to help out. There's still a lot to learn, but keep an eye on the pulse to make sure you're aligned with your creators in the direction they're going. They're also going to be the first ones to bring you actionable feedback since they're talking directly with their community as well. And finally, thanks to our store support, our 4-year-old game managed to rise back to the 5th spot for free games on the US store by aligning the UA, the user acquisition efforts, and our partner relations featuring support to kick off and run at the same time. The traffic drove a high velocity of downloads in a short period of time, bringing us to number 5 and showing up to even more people than ever before. So getting the timing down right allows for that K factor to lift and grow and extend further, letting you get more for your money. I know I did that fast, so I'll take some questions right now if there are any. If not, I can then conclude, but.
Hey, Rose.
Hello. I can't see you. There's like blinding lights. Hello, yes.
So what are some of the most important KPIs or the most important KPIs you're looking at when launching a new game or a new version of a game? Is it active players, in-game purchases, that total downloads? Like what is the most important KPI for you and your team?
So I guess for us and our team, we are an IAP driven, so we do have in-app purchases. We are a freemium model, we have in-app purchases. So you want to make sure that players are spending, but players only spend if they stay in the game. So your number one KPI you're going to be looking at is retention. Did you do something to improve your player durability with this update, or did you do something that is making them leave faster than they were before? We've often seen we're like, we have a great update, and then we look at the numbers. We're like, why did our retention day one go down? And it turns out there's a massive bug that's blocking people from entering. So your first one is going to be your retention. After that, if you have a new feature that you've released specifically, you want to see what the engagement with that feature is. Is it a matter of stickiness? Is it a matter of repetition? Or is it a matter of paid? So you're going to look at average revenue per DAU, average revenue per paying user, and average basket size. So those would be, I'd probably say, like the 5 most important to look at.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, that was really insightful. So for small teams just starting off, out of all those roles that you've named for marketing, like which ones are the first ones that you would pick to put a role on?
I mean, depending on where you are in your production schedule, if you have time to get market research or consumer insights involved, I would do so as soon as possible. And it could be as simple as sending out, if you have another game that's live, sending out a survey to your existing user base and asking them, some general questions about what you're planning on doing. Or it could be as in-depth as going through a third party and setting up a whole CI insights. So that would be the first one. After that, you want to make sure that your marketing lead or whoever is going to be acting as your marketing lead understands what your vision is and that the steps to make sure your audience matches your vision. Sometimes we like to go really general and we go, everyone's going to love our game. And then you realize that like 1% of people are going to play your game. And so you need to do the math, and is that a viable enough audience size to be able to break even and succeed? Or do you need to, kind of rethink what your vision and your product is going to be?
Thank you.
Some hands?
One over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
when we start with small marketing teams, myself, Lou's not here, but we say the PR team at night is then equal to preachers and influencers. Specifically for me, I think this is a good thing, and how do we behave that? Because for small studios, if I send an email to the influencers, it's really, really hard to get attention. Maybe having someone dedicated is a way to have every day meet up. I know it has to be done, but it's only that. Is there any other way? What would you suggest?
Yeah, so the way we started with our influencers is actually, I'm going to go back a couple of slides. Oh, can we switch it back? Yes. So the Gaming Beaver, this guy right over here, he was, I would say, our first influencer. And I use that term lightly because he was a big fan of the game. When we launched Jurassic Park Builder in 2012, he was making videos, like before it was a thing, he was already making videos. And so we saw this because we're like, oh my God, this is so cool. This guy's making, videos about our game. And so we had an open communication with him. Our social team was reaching out, getting feedback. If he had problems, he would reach out to us directly. And so this is where we have our more organic content creators or ambassadors versus an influencer position. So when we were starting this, we did wait to see who was playing the games first and who was creating content on their own. And then we were able to reach out and be like, hey, would you like to be officially working with us in some capacity? So that's kind of how we started. In our 2012 game, we actually had a reference to him in the game. So we made a giant beaver, because his nickname is the Gaming Beaver. And so we kind of little nod to him in the game. And so it's about nurturing those relationships over time versus just expecting to reach out to everyone and hoping that they're going to say yes. Mm-hmm.
We changed the name of the achievement to the erasure that's one. So it will always be like that. I think that's the path to go, and keep trying, keep doing things like that. But the thing is, when we're a smaller studio with a smaller IP, naturally we find less people that are doing the videos organically. But it's such an amazing time when you see one of those, and I still respond to all of them.
Yeah.
Weekly, I stop to see every video with every game on YouTube and try to answer them. I think that's the way to go, right?
Yeah. So when the Gaming Beaver started, he had no one. Like he had maybe 1,000, 2,000, followers. He's now over in the millions. So he's like, he gets approached by Universal to do Jurassic things officially, but he still works with us. Yeah. Any other questions?
No one? I'm sorry, but I don't have any more question. Maybe you could yourself you want to go more in depth with one of the concepts you have, or?
Yeah, if there's any concepts that you'd like to have a little bit more in depth, I think, because it's very mobile driven, and I know community and social and influencer, it's a very hot topic. The problem, yes, go ahead.
Besides like the App Store and the Google Store, what kind of other distribution methods should we look for that are less competitive maybe?
So Amazon App Store is one that could also be used. They are on Android, so it is going to be a slightly different SKU or APK that you need to upload. But the Amazon App Store definitely has a lot less competition, and they are trying to change that. So they are trying to onboard more and more games to be further competition, because that is the one place where they kind of lose out on right now. They were strong for a little bit, and then they kind of took a backseat to Apple and Google. Facebook Canvas is also one that is coming back. So I think it's just Facebook games, both on mobile or on desktop. If you were there for the good old days in early 2010s, that's how Candy Crush got their start. That's how Heyday got their start. And you can see how long their legacies have gone for. So Canvas is also one where you could look into Facebook games. And again, there's less competition there because there's less games. And it's more of a guaranteed ongoing revenue support.
You can speak loud. Yes, I can. We can. I think we can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so another question I have is, since you guys are like a whole team, do you have the problem that other studios as they grow have, where their marketing team sort of, you have the ebb and flow of releases, and then you don't have much to do in between?
So at Ludia before, we were like one central team for all our games. And we love when production schedules all their game releases at the same time. Ludia usually had about 6 or 7 games running at once. And so we were never bored. We usually had, we shipped one release and we're like, yes. And then we immediately turned around and like got to the backlog going through. Now we're a bigger team. And so we do have a little bit more specialized roles. But now rather than just trying to play hot potato and like catching up and like trying to keep the pieces from falling as they're happening, we now actually have the bandwidth to plan. So one of the things that I'm working on right now is like I'm looking at our roadmap for the next year, for the next 18 months to see where we're going to start scheduling, what are the key dates that we need to hit, where is the game team going to be, and where do we need to be in relation to the game team? Because it is a one-for-one support. We want to make sure that we are providing the best support for the game team. And so we need them to tell us what they need and for when, but we also need to keep our eyes open to see what competitors are doing, to see what is happening in the industry, what are the new trends coming through, so that when we do have those dates, we do have that knowledge, we already have a plan of what we want to do and we can action it quickly. So no, we're not ever bored. We are constantly going to be working on, the next thing. Even if the next thing hasn't happened yet or the current thing isn't ready yet, we're going to be working on the next thing so that we can always be advanced. Because marketing is usually in a 2-quarter cycles. So we're in December right now, but we're already looking at June. Yes, Q1. So January, February is a much better time. One, because CPIs, so cost per installs for user acquisition, are lower. Marketing budgets for the year for most brands and businesses reset. And so you're going to have a little bit of an easier time getting through the noise. Your install should be a little bit cheaper if you're doing any testing or just launching, versus Q4, which is the current period because of all the holidays. Especially in North America, so you're going to have Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then all the Christmas and winter holidays through the month of December. So stay away from the later months of the year if possible. If you can shift your release, if you're able to shift your release to earlier January, February, you're going to have a much better month. And you're also going to have a bunch of people with brand new devices looking for games to play, so you'll have a better chance. I believe so. I don't have experience in console games, so I will. Yeah, I don't know console games, so I'm not going to speak what is best on that, but it is something to look into. Yeah, it's also all the marketing budgets for big brands. They are usually only purchasing up until December 24th because of last minute holiday purchases. And then after December 25th, usually the costs of everything go down because the big brands are no longer spending.
Is there some question left? No.
All right.
All right. We are quite ahead of time. As the next talk would be at 4:30 p.m., I can maybe invite you to take some time to walk and take fresh air, and we will we will see us together here for the next talk, which is come on. And thank you. Yeah.